All right, welcome back to a new lesson of passive speech. Now, previously we had done passive speech and we had created passive sentences out of active sentences. Along the way, we had learned certain rules. Let's quickly recapture the rules on our fingertips, which we learned when we are talking about a passive sentence. So when we are making a passive sentence, basically we follow the three to four steps, like we identify the object, turn it into the subject in nominative. Yes. We introduce the helping verb werden or wurden, that is being or was being according to the tense. We change the subject of the active sentence into the agent, and the main verb is written in perfect. Yes, that's ich backe einen Kuchen. Ja, ein Kuchen wird von mir gebacken. Yeah, so that's an example. Now moving forward, we also learned certain other rules. In an active sentence, if the verb is dative, zum Beispiel der Arzt hilft dem Patient, yes, then even in the passive, the object, even when it turns to the subject, will remain passive. Why? Because else the meaning of the sentence would change. Yes, the doctor gives to the patient help. To the patient, help is giving to the patient, help is being given by the doctor. So to the patient remains the same. So it'll be der Arzt hilft dem Patient wird von dem Arzt geholfen. Fantastic. We also learned that if the sentence has no object, yes, then we basically introduce s in the passive sentence. Yes. Zum Beispiel, for example, let's say das Publikum klatscht, the public claps. Now when we turn it into passive, there is no object, so we introduce an object. We say es wird von dem Publikum geklatscht. It's being clapped from the public. Yes. So when there is no object, we introduce s. So that was one rule. And when there is a little rule as well, let's recollect as well. Man wartet auf den neuen Film. One waits of the new movie. Man wartet auf den neuen Film. Now, if you change this into passive, it'll be basically you write it like this. Auf den neuen Film wird gewartet. Yes. Or you could write it like this. Es wird auf den neuen Film gewartet. It's being waited for the new film. You'll not say it's being waited by one person because that's not something relevant. It's not bringing any new information. So when the subject is empty in an active sentence, we do not utilize it as an agent in the passive sentence. Yes. Genau. So with that done, we'll be moving forward and changing the sentences, and we'll be dealing with modal verb sentences. Yes. For example, I must do the homework. The homework must be done by me. Yes, I must do the homework. The homework must be done by me. So in this, I'll not encourage you to mug up the structure of passive. I would rather like you to work with logic. What is the logic? The logic is when you're making a sentence into perfect, you need to maintain, basically you're changing an active sentence to the perfect sentence. Maintain the structure of the active sentence, just change the voice. The voice changes from active to passive. Otherwise, the sentence structure remains the same. What do I mean by changing the voice? You change the object, you make the object the subject and the subject as the agent. Yes. And you introduce the helping verb werden. That's what you do. You maintain basically you maintain the structure the way it is, change the speech from active to passive, and introduce the helping verb werden. These are the three steps. If you follow, you can change any sentence into passives. Let's have a look. Ich muss die Hausaufgabe machen. So I must do the homework. Die Hausaufgabe muss von mir gemacht werden. So what we did, we maintained the structure. The structure is muss. Yes, that's the modal verb. And machen, that's the main verb. So helping verb and main verb, like we learned, second position helping verb, last position infinitive form of the main verb. We'll remain with the same structure. We'll change the speech. That means the Hausaufgabe will become now the subject. It'll become here the Hausaufgabe. We'll conjugate muss for the Hausaufgabe now. Now let's suppose it was Hausaufgaben, plural, homeworks. Then we could write Hausaufgaben. Yes. Müssen, we could have done müssen. It would make even more sense. Yes, let's write here müssen. Very good. Von mir gemacht werden. The homeworks must be done from me. And ich is made into von mir, like we learned earlier. The main verb machen is turned into perfect, gemacht, yes. And we introduce werden, the helping verb for passive, in the end. Why is it written in infinitive? Because we know it's a modal verb sentence. When we write a modal verb sentence, the last verb is always in infinitive. So it's like the homework must be done. Yes, the homework must be done by me. Perfect. So must be done is this. Must be done is this. Must is this. By me is this. Die Hausaufgaben müssen von mir gemacht werden. So a sportsman should eat healthy food. Ein Sportler muss gesundes Essen essen or ernähren. Okay, let's stick with essen. Okay, now how could we write this? We could pick up we'll maintain the structure of the sentence. We'll change the subject. Basically, it'll become gesundes Essen. This is the object, and now it'll become the subject in the passive speech. So gesundes Essen muss von einem Sportler gegessen werden. Healthy food must be eaten by a Sportler. Yes, by a sports person. That's the idea. So without further ado, let's check out the structure and get started. So as before, object as the subject, modal verb in the second position. You'll introduce the agent if you want. The main verb would be imperfect, and you'll introduce the helping verb for passive in the end. Yes, that's what we do. So let's get started. Mark soll gesundes Frühstück essen. So in this, gesundes Frühstück is the object. Let's turn it to the subject. Gesundes Frühstück. Yes. Gesundes Frühstück. Now the modal verb is soll. It will remain here soll as well. It's third person singular. Gesundes Frühstück soll von Mark. And then comes the main verb essen in perfect. Gegessen. Yes, gegessen. And introducing the helping verb for passive, werden. Gesundes Frühstück soll von Mark gegessen werden. Healthy food must be eaten by Mark. Okay. Warum müssen die Studenten die Hausaufgaben machen? Why must the students do the homework? So this is a question. Now we'll maintain the structure of the question, right? Okay, that means we'll stick to the structure of W-Frage. First comes the W-Frage, then the verb, yes, and then the subject. But now we'll change the speech. We'll begin with the object as the subject. The object is the Hausaufgaben. So we'll begin with the Hausaufgaben. Yes, that's plural. So we'll stick with the modal verb, conjugate it. And yes, there is one thing missing. We'll begin with the W-Frage. Warum? Yes, moment. Let me revisit the sentence. So coming again, let's repeat. We'll begin, I almost forgot it's a question. So we'll begin with warum, maintaining the structure. Warum. And then we'll conjugate basically müssen für die Hausaufgaben, which remains müssen. So we'll write müssen. Yes, third person plural. Hausaufgaben is plural. Warum müssen die Hausaufgaben? Yes, why must the homework be done by the students? Warum müssen die Hausaufgaben von is dative, so von den, dem, der, dem, den, von den Studenten. Very good, von den Studenten. The main verb is machen. It will become perfect, gemacht, and we'll introduce the helping verb for passive, werden. Warum müssen die Hausaufgaben von den Studenten gemacht werden? Why must the homework be done by the students? Fantastic. Good question. Okay. Ich dürfte als Kind das Kino nicht besuchen. I was not allowed to visit the cinema hall as a child. Yes. So now we'll again maintain the structure and change the speech of the sentence. That means we'll find out what is the object. The object here is das Kino, what is being visited. So we'll begin with the object as subject, das Kino, and we'll maintain the structure. It's the verb dürfen, and it's written in the past. So we'll keep it dürfen, we'll conjugate for das Kino, and it'll again be dürfte. Yes, third person singular. Das Kino dürfte, then the subject will be introduced as the agent, von mir. Yes, von mir, ich mich mir, dative. Yes, so this is ich nominative. We turn it to dative because von is dative. Remember, von mir. Von mir. Das Kino wurde von mir nicht. Yes, the main verb is besuchen. We'll turn it to besucht. Then the helping verb would be introduced, werden. Yes, so the whole was not allowed to be visited by me. Yes, okay. One should help his friend. Okay, one should help his friend. So again, it's a modal verb sentence. We'll maintain the structure, change the speech from active to passive. That means the object seinem Freund will become the yes subject. So the rule applies, dative bleibt dative, but we can't really begin with his friend because we don't know whom are we talking about. So we'll rather say the friend simply. Yes, so instead of seinem, let's say the friend. The friend must be helped. So dem Freund, and we'll conjugate dem Freund with sollten. Sollten is like the subjective form. Remember, sollten and konnten, they have a subjective meaning, though they are written in the past. So that's the meaning here. But nonetheless, let's conjugate sollten. Dem Freund, it will be conjugated in third person. As you remember, dative remains dative and the verb is conjugated in third person. Dem Freund sollte. Now here we remember one more rule. When the subject is empty, we don't really bring it forward. We don't really use it here. We won't use it here as an agent. We wouldn't say von man. It really doesn't make sense. The friend should be helped by one. By one is an redundant information. We'll simply say the friend must be helped. Dem Freund sollte, the main verb is helfen. In perfect, it becomes geholfen. Yes, if you remember. Little irregular perfect form. So dem Freund sollte geholfen. We'll introduce the helping verb for passive, werden. So that's the step. Maintain the structure, change the speech, introduce the helping verb. Yes, maintain the structure, change the speech, introduce the helping verb. These are your 3 points to turn any active sentence into passive. So we maintain the structure, change the speech, and introduce the helping verb. Wir wollten euch morgen besuchen. So we'll maintain the structure, change the speech. Euch is basically the object, which means you all. We wanted to visit you all tomorrow. Yes, we wanted to visit you all tomorrow. So basically, let's begin with euch, and we'll turn euch into the subject. It'll become a nominative. So what is the nominative on euch? It's like ihr, euch, euch, ihr being nominative. So we'll write ihr. Ihr, yes. Now ihr, the verb is wollten. So wollten will get changed for ihr wolltet. Ihr wolltet. Now we'll introduce wir as this agent, and we'll do it with von. Von is dative, so wir uns is dative. Ihr wolltet von uns morgen. Yes, then the main verb besuchen will write besucht. That's the perfect form. The be verbs do not get a ge, so you don't say gebesucht, Katastrophe. Rather say just say besucht, and then we put the main verb, the helping verb in the end, werden. Ihr wolltet von uns morgen besucht werden. You all wanted to be visited by us tomorrow. Yes? Okay, so die Kinder können auf dem Spielplatz spielen. Now, here we again have you could look at the verb spielen. Intransitive verb, there is no direct object. Basically, there is just a dative object. There is just a dative preposition here, auf dem Spielplatz. So we'll keep it the way it is, auf dem Spielplatz. Yes, auf dem Spielplatz. Very good. And we'll conjugate the verb können in third person, since we know that when dative remains dative, it's always conjugated in third person. So it will be auf dem Spielplatz kann von den Kindern. Yes, the main verb would be made into passive. Spielen will become gespielt. So we'll say gespielt, and then introduce the helping verb for passive. That's werden in the end. Yes, on the playing ground, it can be on the playing ground can be played by the children. Yes, genau, that's the idea. Or it could have been even better written if we had followed the rule as per the way we had learned. Since there is no object here, we'll begin with S. So es kann von den Kindern auf dem Sportplatz, yes, gespielt werden. This is much better. It can be played by the children on the playground. Yes, that's the sentence. Es kann von den Kindern auf dem Sportplatz gespielt werden. Super duper. Möchten Sie uns zur Party einladen? Would you like to invite us to the party? Or we'll change this to passive. Would you all be liked to be invited by us to the party? Something like this. Let's check out. So, möchten Sie uns, ja, möchten Sie uns zur Party einladen? So we'll basically figure out the structure, which should remain the same. The subject will become the object. We'll change the speech. So the object is here uns. We'll change it to the subject. Uns will become, it's wir, uns, so wir. So we'll begin with first möchten. That's the question. So we'll stick to the question format. Möchten wir. So Sie. Sie is the subject. It will turn the agent. Von Ihnen. Genau. Möchten wir von Ihnen zur Party? Very good. Eingeladen. And then we'll introduce the helping verb for passive, werden, in the end. Yes. Would we all like to be invited by you to the party? Would we all like to be invited by you to the party? Would you like to invite us to the party? Would we all like to be invited by you to the party? Yes, that's the passive form. Okay, fantastic. So this was the passive form with perfect, with modal verben. So you need to remember any kind of structure, 3 steps. First, we basically maintain the structure of the sentence. We change the voice of the sentence from active to passive. Yes, in the end, what do? Introduce the helping verb for passive, that is werden. These 3 steps, and we can change a sentence into passive without memorizing these structures. Yes. Okay, so I'll meet you in the next lesson. Continue the practice. In the next lesson, we'll be doing passive tense with perfect. See you till then. This is John Berlin signing off.